I'm going to have Henry Kosarzycki from AIA. Are you the president of AIA-Wisconsin now, or will you? The future president of AIA-Wisconsin. He's an architect and healthcare surveyor with the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. Prior to joining the Department of Health Services, Henry served as a program manager for the Division of Safety and Buildings. I guess compatriot to John. Yep. Serving with the Division of Safety and Buildings, Henry provided code training throughout the state of Wisconsin, as well as serving as municipal building department liaison. Before joining the state, he worked for a major construction company in the design-build industry, traditional practice, and as a plan reviewer for the city of Milwaukee. He is currently a member of the International Code Council, having served on the International Building Code Council and the former chair of the AIA National Codes and Standards Committee. Henry has recently represented the AIA as a member of the International Green Construction Code, Administrative and Building Performance Work Group, and the state of Wisconsin on the Ad Hoc Committee on Healthcare. As a representative of the AIA, Henry has participated in sustainable design assessment team projects evaluating the regulatory models in places such as Longview, Washington, Lawrence, Kansas, and Parma, Ohio. So he picks areas that are very, very similar as he does these kind of work. Additional professional projects include model checking software with the IECC, along with streamlining the permit process and replicable buildings with FIATECH. Having served AIA-Wisconsin as Director-at-Large and as past President of the Southeast Chapter, he will be the Executive Board. He will be part of the Executive Board as President in 2012. He will be discussing the Wisconsin experience with third party. Please welcome Henry Kosarzycki.
Thank you very much. I mean, thank you especially for the opportunity to come here. I apologize for the long, drawn-out resume, but really, if somebody, we're just talking about this 20 years ago, if somebody would have said, "Man, you're going to be a building official in the state of Wisconsin, coming out of the School of Architecture," I'd have been surprised. And with that comes an opportunity to explore a lot of different parts of our business that really affect what we're doing. And, I put these slides together to try to really summarize in a real concise manner what we're talking about when we talk about third-party involvement. It's a growing concept, and it's not too unique when it comes to when you think about this whole third-party concept from the standpoint of the design industry itself. We're trying to build boxes that perform. And it's no surprise to anybody that the owner is represented by those three legs in my mind when it comes to actual design and construction and ultimately the operation of a building. But it's not new to designers because we have consultants. We have consultants that work with us from the structural, from the building envelope design, from all these different factions. Is that like a third party type of approach? Probably. When you have contractors, it's the sub. You've got a GC out there, but there's like a bunch of ants running around a construction site at any given time who are also in that third-party mode. You know why? Because you don't know everything about everything. The adage is architects know a little bit about a lot. The engineers know a lot about a little bit. And that's where you got to put the two together, right? So the building official, just talking out here with Isaac, you got to recognize the building officials know a lot about a little bit about a lot. Because no sooner are they going to look at the structural part of it, the erosion, the stormwater, the construction of a building, they're looking at all these other aspects. And that's kind of where this stuff is coming to a head in my mind when we talk about the third-party model. We took that third-party model when I was with the Safety and Buildings Division. It used to be the Department of Commerce, and things are in flux in Wisconsin government. And the rest of the story is, quite frankly, there was, being the auditor and the statewide liaison with how codes are being administered, and work is being done with plan review and inspection. That's my strong background. I knew that the Department of Health was also struggling and looking for somebody to jump in, because in Wisconsin, like in Pennsylvania, and I think in some other states, You basically took the hospitals and nursing homes and those facilities that are actually dealt with by CMS, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare. But there's federal money involved, they kind of put them aside, put them in Department of Health, and the safety and buildings folks are taking care of all the other buildings. Just so you kind of get a feel for a little bit of a hint, and just kind of hitting you with a lot of stuff, a little bit of a hint as to what's going on even when it comes to energy performance with institutional facilities like that versus the basic commercial building, and more importantly, even the 1- and 2-family home. So we sat back and started to understand this thing, and we developed something called the Wisconsin Building Safety Network. You get kind of kitschy with that, you call it the WBSN, and it's a broadcasting type of thing. But basically what we're starting to do is to start to realize that there's a retail and a wholesale level, okay? There's a retail level that's happening at the municipal, at the ground, the boots on the ground part of a project, and then there's a wholesale level. Why is there redundancy? So we want to take a look at that and understand, how do we coordinate this network? How does this kind of stuff resonate from the center core? The center core being state law, right? Or federal law, whatever is coming down the pike, but it is that adopted law or administrative rule that tells you this is how you got to do it. When you take that and those rings start to resonate out, that state law goes into state officials. State officials then go out to the local officials, and finally the public gets hit with what they have to do. Not always in a negative sense, but this is what the expectations are. I tell how many people all the time, even dealing with the hospital buildings now, is that you're not in the business of running a building, you're in the business of healing people. You expect the building to perform for you the way you want it to perform. That's where this whole structure, this targeted set of rings comes into play. What we did is we basically said, listen, we're going to have the state provide that wholesale service. We're going to be involved in adoption of codes. We're going to be involved in making sure that you've got the tools you need to do the work at your level, be it review or inspection. Because really what we're all trying to achieve here is a building that's going to perform and be compliant going forward. And we need some way to have that checked, inspected, whatever term you want to use, and verified. So, you know, you crack open the books and say, now hold on, I want to always remember that we're talking to a national or at least a Midwestern audience here. This is Wisconsin's model, but I really firmly believe that even in Illinois, where I've been told a million times, every municipality does their own thing, man, and adopts their own codes and does it their own way. I still believe that there can be a consistency model that dives into even that type of situation. Here, we've got a model where we crack open a book and say, you know what, back in 1915, the state of Wisconsin was already recognizing that it's not going to do all the work itself. And it was already, if you were to say, you know, some words were taboo in government, but partnering with other municipalities, or if you call it a third-party type of mentality, to get work done. Because you know what, we can do it, but are we going to be able to do it as effectively? Over the next 90-plus years, you end up with 189 municipalities that are actually engaged in some level of being an agent. Call them agent municipalities. Okay? What that means is they're either doing plan review, inspection, or both, and to a certain limit. Okay, we're not going to get into the details of fooling around with that, but basically, cities like Milwaukee, cities like Eau Claire, I think Janesville and Madison, the bigger communities with more resources are able to do more. And they basically said, we got it covered, we can do this on our own. We'll come to the state when we have a problem or a question. Other smaller municipalities said, we're just going to do the smaller stuff, we're going to do alterations, maybe we're just going to do all the inspections, but that's about what we can handle. But again, it's that type of working together. The one thing I want to emphasize is, out of all the municipalities that took on doing it themselves, this goes back to the third party, and I'll get to drop for you guys, is at one time, a number of years back, I went into Grand Chute, because what you do is, in my role as the auditor, was to go into a municipality and say, hey, how are you doing your work? You know, I'm not here to hit you over the head, I'm here to see if there's a consistency, I want to see your paperwork, let's take a look at how you're doing your plan reviews. If there's stuff that needs to be corrected, then fine, we'll just pick that up. But there's a lot of good ideas I can pick up from you and share with other communities as well. The point is that the administrator or the town manager comes in and he says, so you're telling me that basically there's a pile, these are his words. He says, there's a pile of money, this is economic times, he says, there's a pile of money over there and I can just go grab it. And I said, well, you've got the resources, I guess you could. Because from his town manager mentality, those plan review and inspection dollars were going to the state of Wisconsin. And he said, well, if I've got the resources and the skill and the individuals here that can do this work, why don't people just come here and we can handle the plan review and inspection duties, and then just keep those resources right in our community, and not have to have somebody in Madison or in one of the other regional offices do the reviews, and then we just jump in with our permitting structure. So here's a third-party model that comes out 5 or 6 years ago. Grand Chute then, and this was of course it was handled properly. You have to always worry about any kind of whatever you want to. You'll understand where I'm going with this. They basically partnered with an A&E firm. That A&E firm had 2 individuals working there, and I still remember the guys who were very sharp on codes. They really knew what was going on. That A&E firm, under contract, represented that community. And you know what I was getting about retribution and things like that. At first the concern was, oh yeah, every time they don't get a job, they're just going to hammer on the guy who did get the job and delay projects and things like that. Come on. I mean, we're all adults in the room, so we set up the contracts accordingly. And I said, let's settle down and stop worrying about always designing something around the criminal, and just how about if we take a look at the fact that this is an opportunity where a firm is actually working under contract for a municipality. So if you came into the town of Grand Chute even today and you've got a set of plans, they're going to say thank you very much. They take the applications and they can do it right there with their staff. Anything that's too big or larger at a certain point, they just pretty much take it through the back room, and that A&E firm is taking care of it for them as far as plan review and covering them that way. So that's just like an early example of trying to get into this whole third-party concept. Basically, over half of Wisconsin's citizens are represented by these agent municipalities. All right, it's not just commercial buildings, okay? And the way we tie this stuff around is just to say this is all coming back down on the fact of how much are they looking at, and how much is your local building official taking time to look at energy performance? How much is your local building official actually stopping and saying, I want to just focus on an energy inspection when I go out to that building, versus everything else that's sitting on their shoulders. All right, so back in 2003, Governor Doyle gets into the Home Safety Act, signs that into law. And what that basically says is that I think there's like 8 required, John can jump in on this, and correct me if I'm missing something. Basically, I think there's like 8 required inspections that have to be done during the construction of a home. Let's keep things, just so you understand what's going on. Up until this, the state of Wisconsin never really had anything real solid as far as requiring inspections of homes when they're being built. What's the next thing that happens? Well, the state says, how are we going to do this? I mean, resources, staff, whatever. Oh, wait a minute, municipalities have all of these building departments in place. Municipalities are issuing permits. I bet you municipalities are going out and doing inspections. So that's actually what happened. And I think so. I'm going to throw some just rough generic numbers out there. First thing the state of Wisconsin does is throw this out there and say, hey, you want to jump on and give us a hand? 1,200 plus municipalities. I think all but 400 said, sure. 400 of them said, unfunded mandate, fine, do it yourself. We still had like one guy, okay, at the time that was pretty much our UDC guy. That was it in Wisconsin. And that's the Uniform Dwelling Code, the 1 and 2 family code in Wisconsin. All right, how do we do that? RFPs are put together. Request for proposals go out, and basically, what do we have? Third parties. We have a recognition that there's a lot of people out there that are smart and are smarter than us that can handle this work just fine. And we'll be working as the oversight or liaison with that group of people. Okay? So what happens is that we award contracts to, I think, a total of 18 firms that go out and represent us, be it a one-man firm in certain regions or like General Engineering Corporation. General Engineering's got A&E firm, and they've got their municipal arm that does everything from civil work to doing inspections and representing communities as far as a building authority. So that goes out there. I think John alluded to it a little bit. Not to get into the details. I wasn't in the room when things happened, so all I can do is just give you the basic background on things. And to make a long story short, the current administration, because that's in flux, but the administrator that was there a while back again started saying, how can we bring some more of this revenue back to our shop? Pretty much canceled out all those contracts, all 18 contracts, and now the hair on the back of your neck should be standing up a little bit, because he said, no, we're going to take care of this. And sure, with what resources, okay? So some choices are made that are outside the bounds of those of us that are trying to do the right thing, and that's something that, again, we have to get the word out a lot of times to say, what's going on with this model, and again, that's the best way.